So hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's been a long time with college and basically everything that's been going on. I haven't really had the chance to sit down and record a video at all, and that's a shame for me. Plus my computer was broken for quite a while, so I couldn't actually upload. But the computer's fixed and I actually have some free time right now, so I wanted to make a quick review of Bojack Horseman Season 5, as you can see by the title. And Bojack Horseman is a show that I've never really spoke about. I've done my top 5 TV shows, but I actually didn't see Bojack Horseman until I made that video. Well, I hadn't seen it at the time of that, so since then I've seen it, and I can confidently say it would be probably number 2 or number 1 on that list. I love it that much. I think it is without a doubt the most sophisticated, clever, and all around just good adult animated comedy that I've ever seen. Rick and Morty is another one that I really like, but I don't think it gets to the depth of the characters that like Bojack does. And also, Bojack Horseman is just such a wonderful kind of visualization of mental health and depression, and it kind of explores the deepest depths of that. And I really admire Bojack for not sugarcoating in any way. It makes it seem as dull as it is. It's not... It is considered a comedy, but it's very sad. It's very emotional. There are a lot of hard-hitting things, especially in Season 4, with things like lobotomies, and a lot of sort of stuff like that that is really just hard-hitting and stuff that you don't think you'd see from an adult comedy. And because of that, I was really excited to see Season 5. I was really excited to see where it went. Because Season 4 ended quite well. You know, Hollyhock came in, who turned out to be Bojack's sister. And so I was excited to see what would happen. And she did return in this series, but not as much. And I'm kind of glad they did that, because she did have a lot to do in Season 4. So I'm glad they didn't give her this season as well. But they added quite a few new characters to this. The main ones which I've written down are Flip, who basically makes and directs the TV show that Bojack is now working on called... he's played by Rami Malek. And I like Rami Malek quite a lot, and I think he does quite well with this character. I don't think the character is as explored as he could be, but I still really like him. And then the other character who I think is absolutely amazing is Gina, played by Stephanie Beatrice. And Gina's a very, very, very interesting character. You know, something happens, some stuff happens to her, and you genuinely feel terrible. You really feel terrible for her, but, like, you can't do anything about it because you're watching a TV show, and it's honestly heartbreaking, but I digress. But what I liked about this season of Bojack so much was that it did what I love from Bojack Horseman, like I said, is it just further explored these amazing, flawed characters. It's one of those shows where your favourite character is the titular one, because Bojack is an amazing character. He is so flawed, but it also makes him... He's not a likeable character, but it is sort of what makes him likeable. And I think that this season especially kind of explored the deepest depths of his depression that he's ever felt. And there was a massive underlying theme of his work life and his normal life kind of merging more than they ever have. And that was really good. Like the intro for the episodes, like his show Filbert that he's on, the set was the exact same as his house. And there was a joke about it being like what the director thought a lonely man would live in, which is obviously trying to say that Bojack's lonely. But I think for me that's a visualization of his depression and how he is just so foregone that everything he does feels the same. And I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that quite a lot. In terms of other characters, quite a lot happened with other characters. We'll kind of go through the most important stuff. What happened to the most important things. And Diane is next. Diane went through quite a lot in this season. She ended up breaking up with Mr. Peanut Butter and basically kind of going from where she used to live, which was kind of a mansion, to this crappy studio apartment that was, like, awful. But there was a lot about this that just... She kind of became annoying because she's always cared about Bojack and she's always been very vocal with that. But in this, it kind of felt like she was pushing him too much and making him do things that he just didn't want to do. And I wasn't a fan of that. I didn't like Diane doing that. I do miss the relationship between Diane and Bojack that was in the first couple seasons, you know, where they were genuine friends. And now it just feels like they're talking for the sake of talking. And Alison Brie did amazing with the voices. Diane, she always does. And it's kind of structured that you're supposed to dislike Diane, so I'm not saying that it's a bad writing or whatever. I think I've responded correctly to that in not liking Diane. And also, let me just put in, Will Arnett is amazing as Bojack Horseman. Then next we've got Princess Carolyn, played by Amy Sedaris, and Princess Carolyn is my second favourite character in the show. I love PC. She's such a workaholic, and I think she is the most relatable character. And that's why I love this show so much, is there's so many different characters you can relate. You can always find someone to relate to. And a lot of people will relate to Princess Carolyn who feel like no matter how much they do, it never feels like enough. And that is Princess Carolyn, and that's why I love her so much. But a lot happened for her in this season. She wanted to adopt, and she ended up adopting, so I'm very, very interested to see where this goes. I've always loved Princess Carolyn. You know, she kind of forged Bojack's signature to do Filbert, but it ended up paying off for him. It was a smash hit, and I really liked that about Princess Carolyn. I thought she was really interesting, and I've always just really liked this character. And there was an episode about her family history and, like, you know, how she got pregnant when she was about to get married, and then she had a miscarriage, and it was a really, really sad episode, but I think it just really added to my love for Princess Carolyn. So the next character who was the most important, I would say, is Mr. Peanut Butter. And Mr. Peanut Butter is a character who I've always loved. You know, he's kind of the opposite to Bojack. Bojack's the sad, kind of depressed one that just doesn't really fit in, and Mr. Peanut Butter is the complete opposite. He's always happy, he always fits in, people love him, and I've always loved Mr. Peanut Butter for that. Paul F. Tompkins does a great job with the voice. They really do well at writing metaphors for Mr. Peanut Butter, because they kind of structure his character's dialogue as someone who's always referring to pop culture, someone who's always making jokes like, you know, call me da-da-da because I'm da-da-da. He's always saying things like that, and I think the writing is just so clever when they do that. I don't understand all the references, but, you know, they are good. And he actually went through one of the darkest Mr. Peanut Butter stories I've actually seen. He actually cheated on his wife, his girlfriend for the first time. He broke up with Diane, met a new girlfriend called Pickles, and he cheated on her, and it was the first time he'd ever done something bad, and the first time he was actually talking to Diane, saying, like, it's the first time I've ever lied to someone, and I felt bad for him, you know? It's not easy being in that situation. He's always happy-go-lucky. He's never had to face any of that, and I actually really liked it for that. I think the Paul F. Tompkins who voices him just does wonders with the character. He makes the happiness even happier, and he makes the sadness even sadder. And I love him for that. I think he's a really good character, and I really like having him. At first, I wasn't like, when I first started watching it, he was always just a stupid comic relief character for me, but I think as the seasons have gone on, he's really started to flesh out, and I really like him now. And then the final character, who I do kind of miss from earlier seasons, he doesn't really do much anymore, and that is Todd. There was a whole situation with Todd figuring out that he's asexual, and that was nice. You know, they didn't overdo it to, like, kind of adhere to current affairs, you know. It was just kind of a thing, and I like that. I do like that. At the start, he had another asexual girlfriend, and he had this whole episode where he had to pretend to, like, have sex with his girlfriend, and it was quite funny, but Todd's always kind of been the comic relief. But But then he ended up being made president of this company called What Time Is It Right Now? And he was funny. He never really had any major story arcs, you know. He wasn't really impactful at all. He was kind of just the comic relief character, and I do still really like Todd. Aaron Paul's voice work is amazing. And one of the things he did was actually make a sex robot. He made a sex robot for his friend Emily, with voice cues, and, you know, it was kind of a misunderstanding cliche where the voice cue would happen after a question, and then they'd think that the robot is talking to them, and it actually ended up becoming president of the company, which was quite funny. And oddly not realistic, but oddly normal, you know what I mean? And it was funny, and yeah, there was kind of like an over dramatized thing where Todd killed the sex robot and things like that, which was really funny. But yeah, in terms of characters, this is a very, very interesting season. I think, like I say, I think for someone like Diane, I've started to dislike her a lot more. But someone like Bojack or Mr. Peanut Butter, I just love them even more. And Princess Carolyn as well, getting the baby. I'm really excited to see where that goes. Hopefully they make a season 6, because this was amazing. And, you know, in terms of, like, what actually happened, you know, there was a lot of good story points. There was the episode Free Churro, was Bojack performing a eulogy for his mother, who died off screen. And it was a 20-minute episode of literally just Will Arnett as Bojack talking to the viewer, and it was sensational. It was such a good episode, because he kind of criticizes his mother for he thinks that, like, she's stupid for missing his father, but then he starts to do the same, and it's this kind of cycle that even though she was someone he hated, having her gone and knowing that he'll never see her again, I think was something that hit him, and it was pretty heartbreaking, actually. It was pretty heartbreaking. And a lot just was really good. There was a lot of explosive confrontations between, especially Diane and Bojack, where she was bringing up things that Bojack did not want to talk about. There was an underlying problem with drugs, a lot of drug usage with Bojack. He was trying to kind of take everything out so that he could just live life without worry, and that's when he starts doing bad things. There's a whole episode where you don't know whether he's in real life or his work life, and I think that's such a good creative decision, because it really feels like his lives are blurred, because he's so depressed that nothing feels different. Everything feels the same. Everything feels dark, dreary, and dull. And I really, really enjoyed that idea. Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff I didn't like, I would say, yeah, like I said, Diane. Diane was very annoying. And there was an episode called Bojack the Feminist, where I think it was a bit over the top, but yeah, it was still a sensational season, one of my favourite seasons of the show. And I can't wait for season 6. I think it's such a well-written show, and the characters just speak volumes to pretty much anyone who watches them. And I really like that about it. So yeah, tell me what you thought of Bojack Horseman Season 5 if you've seen it. Do you like the show? Do you not like the show? Tell me in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching this video. I'm not saying that I'm going to start uploading regularly, but hopefully I can upload a little bit more. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.